Again, our thanks to Ira Hayes, American Legion Post number 84 out of Sacramento. Did a nice job. Well, before I introduce the main speakers here, there are some people in the audience I would like to introduce. Some of our elected officials. From my town council, it would be Becky Galene. Becky, if you please stand. Anybody else from Florence Town Council? I don't see anybody. Yes. I know you're here.
Mayor?
Yes. Oh, Mr. Anderson, John Anderson, one of Becky and John are newly elected. John, I'm sorry. The Vice Mayor of the town of Winkleman, Francis Mama, trying to give her away. Francis Wickman. From the County Board of Supervisors, where are you at? There they are. Todd House, please stand. Anthony Smith, Maricopa area, please stand. I saw one state legislature here, and I know who he is because he was born and raised here, and him and I grew up together. We've got a fought and everything like that, but Frank Pratt, Matt. Again, as I said earlier, thank you all for being here. I know we're going to have a lot of information that you have questions for the congressman, congress-lady. But and most of you know about it. You knew that it was Dr. Gosar at one time. I was going to have him work on my teeth today, but my fix stem won't come loose. So you're lucky there, Doc. We're in good shape. Congressman Gosar is serving his second term in Congress. As representative from Arizona's 4th Congressional District, first elected in 2010, he came to Congress with no prior political experience. Now you don't hear that much anymore. Before being elected to Congress in 2010, Gosar owned his own dental practice in Flagstaff for 25 years. As a healthcare provider and small business owner, Dr. Gosar is focused on bringing jobs back to the district, reforming healthcare, reining in government spending, and ensuring the American people are involved in the solution-making process. He has worked on the Natural Resources Committee and oversight of the Government Reform Committee. Congressman Gosar was born in Rock Springs, Wyoming, and it's a lot colder up there than it is down here, and now resides in Prescott, Arizona. Dr. Gosar and his wife, Maud, have 3 children. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Gosar. My teeth are losing. Now we go to the pretty side of it. U.S. Representative Ann Kirkpatrick. Representative Ann Kirkpatrick served her 3rd term in Congress as the representative from the 1st Congressional District of Arizona. After earning her law degree, Ann served the people of Greater Arizona in a variety of positions. In 1980, she became the Coconino County's first female deputy county attorney, cracking down on criminals and protecting neighborhoods and families in northern Arizona. She later served as Sedona's city attorney, and in November 2004, Ann Neighbors elected her to the Arizona House of Representatives to represent Legislative District 2. She certainly served on the House Committee on Agriculture and the House Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure. She has also served on the House Committee of Veterans Affairs and was born in Arizona and raised here and now resides in Flagstaff. Just a personal touch for me, I consider them both friends of Florence and of their districts. We've heard a lot here recently from our governor-elect about civics, about the students having to pass civic tests. When I went to school in the 50s, 60s, we had civics in school. And it was a half a semester Arizona Constitution and a half a semester of U.S. Constitution. And the one thing that I got out of that is to make America great the way it is today, is that for it to work, the lines had to be crossed. The party line had to be stopped. And for America, both parties have to come together to work. And I can be damn proud to say that these 2 people have done it in more than one time. And I'm happy to have them here today. With that, I'm going to shut up, sit down, and let them take over. Congressman, Congress Lady, your show.
Hey all, I am Tom Van Flyne. I'm Congressman Gosar's chief, and I'm gonna help with the presentation here today. Carmen was gonna be here, but she got delayed, or she's back in DC, the Congresswoman's chief, so it'll just be me. But following up on what the mayor was saying, Congresswoman, can you give us like 1 minute on your thoughts on the difference between Washington, DC and bipartisanship, and then coming back to Arizona and working with people like Paul Gosar or David Schweiker and some of the other Republicans? How does that go?
You know, the great thing about working with Paul is that between the two of us, we represent most of rural Arizona. And I've spent all my life in rural Arizona in small towns where we know how to get together. My next door neighbor identifies himself with the Tea Party, but we're neighbors. We help each other shovel our snow. You know, we see our friends at church, at the grocery store, and we know how to deal with differences of opinion in a very, very respectful way. I share with Paul that we both come from bipartisan families. My mother's family were Republican ranchers up in Navajo County. My dad's family were Democrat businessmen, and I always say I made a very interesting dinner conversation.
I bet it did. Congressman, your thoughts on contrasting DC politics with what it's really like here in DC working together, or in Arizona working together?
Well, I think the aspect that I want to touch most on, Ann has spoken very nicely about how we've gotten together. But I think it's also not just crossing lines, but having the conversation in an open environment. That's why I've been somebody about process. We shouldn't be afraid of the facts. We shouldn't be able to be afraid of the debate. We should have that open debate so that America sees what we're talking about, where we're going, and how we're doing it. Listening to them, because there's a lot of people back in Washington, D.C. that flap their lips and don't listen. I think that's the key, and that's something that I bring to the table. If you're one of my patients and you got a toothache, now I might start pulling teeth. I might get it right, but I might pull a couple extra teeth along the way. But if I had asked you what hurts, how can I help you, we're going to do a lot better. So that's that kind of compassion that we want to start to see in regards to the process. Open debate. It's not about what's Republican or Democrat. Put the facts out there, debate them, and let America have a piece of the conversation. That's what I think we ought to do, and get back to the power of what persuasion is. Share with America what exactly is going on. I think America will give you the right answer. So I also want to put that forward, so thank you for having me today.
Very good. Thank both of you. You probably can't see, but behind us we have a slide, so there's going to be a few topic areas. What I'd like to start with you, Congresswoman, is there's some key issues that affect all of rural Arizona, no matter the east side or the west side. And a couple topics up there from the lower Santa Cruz Wash, the ruins, island corridor, some other issues. What's going to be your focus this term, and what's been your focus in helping rural Arizona?
My work really centers around building a diversified, strong economy, not just for my district, but all of Arizona. And these are 4 projects that Congressman Gosar and I have worked together successfully on. We are reintroducing the expansion of the Casa Grande National Monument. That's also a job producer. And my understanding is that there's going to be a Natural Resources Committee meeting in the district about that. So we'll be able to continue to move forward. Certainly Resolution Copper was something that we worked long and hard on, 3,700 jobs to the area, and that's just the beginning. And so it's all about building that diverse economic economy, and I just got appointed to Agriculture Committee. That's a big economic engine, especially in this area. I look forward to working with folks who are in this room in farming.
Can I follow up on that with you? The United States Department of Agriculture is part of that, and the Forest Service, right? You're on that committee. So how much forest land do you have in your district?
This is one of the most forested districts in the country. Surprises a lot of people who don't realize that Arizona has so many forests and mountains, and I've spent all my life in Arizona in the mountains. Another project we've worked on up north is the Forest Restoration Initiative, which is also a job producer, but also a model for forest health. So we'll continue to work together on those, but I'm really happy. I just saw Dennis Dugan come in, he's a dairy farmer, and look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Very good. Congressman, your thoughts on some of these issues in rural Arizona that you've either both been working on or want to work on this session?
Well, I think when you look at the four up here, there's plenty more to go around. But when you look at economics, and particularly for Arizona, water's for fighting over and whiskey's for drinking. And we ought to be looking at the south or the lower Santa Cruz in regards to harnessing the energy of episodic floods. That is key. It's also key to our transportation system because if we're going to be the cornerstone hub of the Southwest in regards to transportation, we need to mitigate the water and its damage. And we've always been that kind of leader. It has not shown whether it's an R or D, it's been an Arizona issue. And if you remember right, the drought last year certainly woke up the bear that's to our west. And so we're going to have to be ahead of that ball game as a collective group, not as Republicans and Democrats, but as Arizonans. Then I think when you start to see the economic drivers of Resolution Copper, $1 billion coming into your state's economy every year for the next 50 years. Folks, if you like solar, if you like your electric grids, your transmission power, you're going to need copper. And this represents 25% of the copper that the United States would be using. We're right now importing 35% of our copper. So these are opportunities that we have here. Yes, we've got to make sure that people who make promises hold those promises in detail. That's exactly what we're required as citizens. Just because something passes doesn't mean that you get to go past go and advocate your role. You have to be a part of that solution process. And then I think the other aspect is the aspect that government doesn't create jobs. Government creates the environment so that everybody can participate and invest into the job market. That's the key that we've got wrong, because if you build a government big enough to give you everything, they're big enough to take it all away. So.
Thank you.
Tom, can I expand a little bit on copper? Because I know a lot of folks here are concerned about the Florence copper mine, and they want us to talk a little bit about that. And as Congressman mentioned, we use copper, and everybody has an iPhone or a tablet or a computer. It uses copper. But one of the things we found, when we worked on the Resolution Copper Mine issue, there was overwhelming community support over that. We did a couple of town halls, and there were concerns expressed, which are valid concerns, and which we have to keep an eye on. But there was overwhelming community support here, and I'm just curious. I'd like to see a raise of hands in the audience. How many people are against the Florence mine? If you don't mind just raising your hands and give us an idea.
Florence.
And how many people were for it? So it's an issue I think that the community is going to have to.
It's about even split here.
Yeah, it's about even.
Thank you. Wanted to follow up with Congressman on I-11. Can you explain the significance of that potential interstate to Pinal County and to reach all the way up through Mojave into Nevada?
Absolutely. If you take a look at the major metropolitan areas in the United States, the only two that don't have a direct connection is Las Vegas and Phoenix. So that direct corridor is now void. And so this provides us an opportunity for a north-south type of transportation mechanism. A lot of people think it's only between Phoenix and Las Vegas. But if you think about the bigger picture of a corridor that goes from Mexico, which will be a major hub all the way to the Canadian border, this plays a huge part. And the southern part of that aspect comes right into Pinal County. When you start looking at rail, at surface, and air, Pinal County is positioned perfectly in regards to being a major type hub of transportation. If you can't get goods to export or to import, then you have a very stagnant economy. I am currently the co-chair of the I-11 caucus in Congress. Nevada is ahead of us, but they have a smaller piece of that I-11 corridor. We have a much bigger piece and a much more expensive type of piece. And so this is going to take people ahead of the ball game, thinking ahead of the ball game, 2 and 3 steps, a couple plays. We should have our footballs deflated so that we have, we have to be very, very, opportunistic in how we move things forward. So it's a great opportunity when we're being looked at as the hub of the Southwest.
Very good. I am going to switch direction now towards DC. Congresswoman, can you tell us about your thoughts on the upcoming congressional budget process, what you foresee Will it be different this year now that the Republicans have the Senate? What your priorities might be for the budget for rural